All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're trying to crack a code, the modern British aesthetic. I mean, it's this wild culture of contradictions, right? You've got this stiff upper lip tradition clashing with this explosion of rebellion. So what we're going to do is piece it all together, one clue at a time.
Seriously, think about it. How does the same culture give us the pomp and circumstance of a royal wedding, and then, on the flip side, the raw, snarling anarchy of the Sex Pistols? And then you throw in the worldwide magic of Harry Potter. They seem like they're from different planets, but somehow they're all woven into the same cultural fabric. It's a real head-scratcher.
Okay, so let's get into it. To even begin to solve this puzzle, we need to get our heads around one key idea, and that's the concept of a national aesthetic.
Now, an aesthetic, it's not just about what looks good, you know? It's more like the underlying vibe of a whole culture. It's all the shared tastes, the values, even the tensions that bubble up in their art, their music, their stories. You could almost think of it as its cultural DNA.
So here's what's so fascinating about the British aesthetic. It's built on this massive contradiction, probably born from all those tensions around class and empire, right? So on one hand, you've got this very formal, kind of buttoned-up, official culture. But then, pushing right back against it, you have this super powerful, messy counterculture. And that constant push and pull, well, that's the real engine driving modern British identity.
So where do we look for our first big clue? Let's start with the sound. We're going to tune in and listen to what British music has to say about the whole thing.
I mean, for decades now, British music has been this huge global export, but it's also a mirror held up to the nation itself. It's always tapping into those anxieties about social class, it's fueling rebellion against the establishment, and it manages to do it all with this incredibly sharp lyrical wit that's just so British. And you can see this evolution so clearly on this timeline. First, you get the Beatles, exporting this charming, witty version of official Britain to the world. Then, bam, punk explodes in the 70s and just completely tears that image to shreds. Jump to the 90s, and Britpop comes along and rebuilds it all with this confident, cool swagger. And now, you've got grime artists like Stormzy giving this raw, totally unfiltered commentary on what modern British life is really like. It's this constant cycle, you know? Building it up, tearing it right back down.
All right, let's grab the next piece of our puzzle. We're moving from the sound to the look. How does all this play out in the visual world of British cinema? Like, what does Britain actually look like on screen? Well, just like everything else we're seeing, British film is basically split right down the middle. On one side, it holds up a mirror to the, let's be honest, often kind of bleak and mundane reality of everyday life. And on the other side, it opens up these portals to some of the most spectacular fantasy worlds you've ever seen.
So first up, you've got what the critics call kitchen sink realism. And it's exactly what it sounds like. These are movies that find all the drama in the everyday stuff, the struggles of working class life, usually under some perpetually gray skies. It's a world where the biggest drama might just be making rent, and the dialogue feels so real, it's like you're eavesdropping at the local pub. It's just raw and totally unflinching. And then you have this, the absolute polar opposite. We're talking grand, epic fantasies, Harry Potter, James Bond, the stuff that completely takes over the global box office. This is pure escapism, a world packed with magic and heroes that feels a million billion miles away from that factory floor in Sheffield. Okay, time for our last major piece of the puzzle. This one is all about the nation's voice, the media itself. How does Britain talk to its own people? And how does it talk to the rest of the world? And honestly, that duality we've been talking about, it's probably clearer here than anywhere else. On one side, you've got the BBC. You know the one, respected all over the world for being so composed, so authoritative, so orderly, the voice of the nation. But then on the other side, you have the tabloids. They're loud, they're chaotic, they're wildly popular, and they're obsessed with scandal and celebrities. A very, very different voice of the people. And look, this isn't just some weird thing about their media. This constant public battle between what's proper and what's totally profane, what's serious and what's just plain silly, that is the actual soundtrack to British public life. It's like this massive argument the country is having with itself, out loud, every single day.
So there we have it. We've got our pieces, the sound, the look, and the voice. It's time. Let's put them all together on the table and see what kind of picture they actually make.
And here we go. This is where it all just clicks. Just look at the patterns here. That sense of tradition you get in heritage cinema, that's the same voice as the BBC.
That raw, rebellious energy of punk and grime, that's the movie version of social realism, and it's got the same chaotic vibe as the tabloids. Even the fantasy stuff connects. Britpop's escapism, blockbuster movies, the whole spectacle of the royals. It's all part of the same thing. It's just the same cultural DNA showing up in different forms.
So that's it. That's the solution to our puzzle. The modern British aesthetic, it's not tradition or rebellion. It's not gritty reality or grand fantasy. The whole point is that it's both. Its defining feature, you could even call it its superpower, is its ability to just totally embrace contradiction.
This is really the heart of it, right here. You're looking at a culture that worships tradition at the same time as it celebrates rebellion. A culture that tells stories about grim, everyday life and also about epic, grand fantasy. It's a people defined by the stoic, formal exterior and a wicked, irreverent sense of humor. The whole thing is powered by that tension, that energy between total order and complete chaos.
And that brings us to one last big question. In a world that's getting more and more globalized, where all our cultures are starting to blend together, can this uniquely British balancing act keep going?